So I'm having a chat with Jona Lewie. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, Jim. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. So it's Christmas at the moment, and we'll get onto your Christmas track, the elephant in the room, as we'll call it,
Right.
shortly. But I'd like to
nice
talk.
to have nice to have an elephant in the room, actually.
Yeah, indeed. It probably tides you over every year.
Well, it's big enough, but fortunately, I've got a room that's emptier.
Well,
anyway, I don't know what that means.
well, it's keeping you busy at the moment. You've got a double album coming out in January. Tell us about that.
That's right. Indeed. Yep.
What can people expect? Because I mean, it's been over 30 years since your last record.
Yeah, I think I missed what you said then. Yeah. Yes, it's a double album, and the reason it's a double album is because, I mean, I've got a studio. I've always loved studios. I had little ones when I was younger, and they grew bigger as I got older, and so I've kept that going as a kind of a hobby. So therefore, I like to go into the studio and do things, record things and stuff. And over time, you end up with quite a lot of stuff. And in the end, you find, my God, I've got enough for an album. And hang on, I've got enough for a double album. Now, wait a minute, a treble album. So you have to stop somewhere. And anyway, a double album is being released, as you say, towards the end of January.
Yeah, excellent. And what was the reason behind taking so long between these record releases?
Well, the thing is, I suppose you could call myself a songwriter. And what that means is that you write songs, you write the melody and the lyrics and so on. And although I say it myself, I'm not too bad at it. So I sit down at the piano and I end up writing a song. And they accumulate like mad. But where I'm really terrible at is turning them into recordings. And so I'm very slow with like making the recordings of those songs, and pretty quick writing the songs. And so over time, it takes me, I might do one recording a year, right? Now, over 30 years, I've done 30. And so I've got a double album,
Sorted. Yeah, good. Now, over to the elephant in the room, which is your Christmas track from many years ago, Stop the Cavalry. Now, when you wrote that and released it, did you realize that all these years later it would still be played?
No, not at all. When you write a song, you believe in it, so you finish it, and then you put it to one side. That's it, done. And you have no idea about the future, but you always would like to have that song heard by someone, kind of thing, sure. But you have got no idea about what's going to happen in the future, so you forget about it and you start doing something else, like another number, So it was amazing for me that it kind of caught the imagination of a few countries around the world. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were releasing music like all the Christmas track and everything around other big names, and all these years later, it's all the older tracks that seem to be keep on being played every year at Christmas. Why do you think that might be?
People like Slade, you mean, and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. This is a cumulative phenomenon, really. So over time, the certain ones that stick or get the imagination of the public get revitalized every Christmas because it becomes associated with the season, and so they augment or cement their position. Hence they've lasted, just by the luck of having it being played again every year, the Slade and Co. people. And there's plenty of them. I do like some tracks, actually, some Christmas tracks, but some other ones less that I like. But what was the question again?
It was along the lines of I can't remember myself. It was
something about just the fact, why have they lasted or something, and
new Christmas tracks coming out now don't get the repetitive plays that you get kind of every year.
Well, it's difficult for me to understand that situation because when it's new, it is new, so you never kind of know, and you only know when they become old because you can look back and say, I've heard that one every year for some years. So they build up a reputation. So a new one can't do that. But a new one might do it in the future, but we won't know until later on, you know. So we have to be careful, I think, about not putting down anything that's current, because that current one might become a staple diet, part of the staple diet in the future, you know. So there's that angle to think about too.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you do performing-wise, especially around this time, because people associate you and Christmas, really? Do you keep performing around this time?
Well, I do perform at different times of the year from time to time, but I'm more of a recording studio guy than a guy on the stage doing it live. I do enjoy both. They're very different from one another, but I spend more time in the studio than on stage. Having said that, you know, we will be doing stage work and touring in the coming year, next year. But I do gigs. Yeah, I mean, you can't. They're just, you know, chalk and cheese gigs and recordings, and gigs are something else, and they're very special, and they have the vibe of you know, right up. They like very current vibe about it, and well, live is live, isn't it? Yeah, and studio is kind of dead, but studio is more of an art that you build up, like a painting, whereas live is the energy of the current feeling. You know, it's very different.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Jon, it's been...
Did you understand all that?
I did indeed, and I'd like to talk to you more, but I know you've got other interviews lined up, so I'm going to let you go.
Yeah. Right.
So it's been great having a chat with you.
And thank you.